Hello everyone and welcome to my craft room. I'm Leo from inkymemories.co.uk. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in South Wales. Today on this Tip Tuesday video I'm going to show you how you can make a gift box for any size gift that you might need this festive season. So if you have something that you've forgotten to wrap or something that's perhaps a little bit awkward to wrap, all you're going to need are a paper trimmer, some cardstock or designer series paper, and some adhesive, and the ones I'd recommend for this are Stampin' Seal Plus, Tear and Tape, or Tombow liquid glue. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is a little bit of maths, so let me just pop this out of the way. This is the gift that I'm going to be putting into a gift box. This is just a mini candle, and I have here a little ruler and a formula that we're going to be working to. So the first thing that I want to measure is how tall my candle tin is, and if I hold my ruler up to the side here I can see that it's just under 5 centimeters tall. So I'm going to pop that into my formula here. So I've got 5 centimeters for both of the height options on there. And then I need to have a look at the width. Now this is nice and simple. It is a round candle, so the box that I'm going to make can be square for this to fit into. And at its widest point, this is 6.6 centimeters. So I'm going to pop that into my formula as well. And then all we need to do is just add all of these together. So I need a piece of cardstock that is 16.6 centimeters square to make the base and the lid for my box. So I'm going to bring back in my paper trimmer, and I have a sheet of old olive cardstock here that I'm going to be using to make the base for my gift box. If I lift up my guide here, I need to pull my cardstock to the 16.6 mark on my ruler across the top, making sure the cardstock is butted right up to the top of the trimmer so you're making nice straight cuts. Make sure your guard is in place and then pull your dark grey cutting blade straight through the cardstock. I'm going to turn this around and again pull it to the 16.6 centimeter mark on there. Pop my guide back into place and pull my trimmer blade straight through that. Now this time we're going to be needing the pale grey blade. This is the scoring blade. And I need to do now our height scoring. So we want to score at 5 centimeters on all 4 sides of this square of cardstock. So again, I'm pulling my cardstock to the 5 centimeter mark on here, and then using the pale grey scoring blade, I'm just going to run that through a couple of times to create our score line on here. And I'm going to repeat that now on all of the other sides. So you can see here I have the base ready, and you can always test your work before you start putting this together. Just pop your gift into the center part and it should just fit nicely into that space. So I'm going to do the same with a piece of designer series paper for the lid of my box. So I have here the gorgeous brightly gleaming DSP that I've been absolutely loving this year. And I'm hoping this piece is going to be big enough, but no, I don't think it is. So let us grab these lovely navy blue stars here. I'm going to cut this again to 16.6 centimeters. So again, just pulling this to the right size and running my trimmer blade straight through. And here is my square piece of designer series paper. Now in order to make sure that the lid fits perfectly over the top of my box when I go to put them together, I'm going to make the sides 1 millimeter shorter on all 4 sides, so that the actual top square, if you like, is 1 millimeter larger on each side. So this time I'm going to score my designer series paper at 4.9 centimeters on all 4 sides. So we're done with the trimmer. I'm going to pop that out to one side out of the way and grab back in my 2 pieces of cut and scored cardstock and designer series paper. So the next thing I'm going to do is grabbing my bone folder. I'm going to burnish on all of my score lines. This will help it make it much easier to put your box together. And it may not look like a box yet, but it's going to, trust me. And I'm going to do the same on the lid as well. So now that I have all of my score lines nicely burnished, I'm going to grab a nice long pair of scissors and we're going to do a little bit of cutting. So looking at your piece here, so this is the base for my box. What I need to do is to cut these pieces so that I can then re-stick them back together in a 3D shape rather than a flat shape. So what I'm going to do is on this square down here, I'm going to cut straight up this score line until I meet this cross score line on here. I'm going to rotate and repeat that on all 4 sides. So now that I have all 4 of those pieces cut, I'm going to take them down ever so slightly. Again, this is going to make it easier to put the box together at the end. And then just cut a tiny notch out of each side of these flaps. So all you're doing is at an angle, just snipping up to that corner part. So you should end up with a piece like this, and I'm going to repeat that on the other side of the flap as well, like so. So if I put this down so you can see it nice and flat, I've cut it up slightly and taken a notch out of each side, and again I'm going to repeat that on all 4 sides. So now I have my base for my box completed, I'm going to repeat the exact same process on the piece of paper that I've scored and cut for the lid. Now that my pieces are cut and scored and I've snipped all of those tabs, it is time to glue them together. So I'm going to be using Seal Plus for this. It's a nice simple way to put your boxes together. It's a nice permanent adhesive and it has a really strong bond as well. So what I'm going to do is run a little bit of adhesive onto each of the flaps that we've cut out here. Got all 4 of those flaps. And then it's time to put the box together. So taking the first flap, I'm going to pull it in, put the 2 corners here together, so making sure that my cut edge meets my scored edge perfectly. Once I'm happy that they are lined up, I can then push the flap into place and press that seal in to give us a nice crisp corner, and I'm going to repeat that on all of the sides. So again, just lining up the cut edge and the scored line, and once I'm happy, pressing the flap into place. And there is the base of our box done. And my little candle fits perfectly inside. So I'm going to repeat the exact same process now for the lid of my box. Okay, there is the lid for my box, which now fits perfectly over my gift box, and there it is completed. So you can then wrap this with some nice ribbon, add a tag, you could decorate the top with some punched or stamped images. There's a lot that you can do with this little gift box. So what if the thing that you are wrapping isn't square? So how about if we are wrapping this delicious bar of chocolate, although I'm not quite sure why you'd want to give it away, because it is absolutely delicious. So this time our formula is slightly different. I'm going to grab back in my mini ruler and my pen here and double check the sizes. So if I look at the width first of all of my chocolate, I can see here that it is 8.8 7 centimeters wide. So I'm going to pop that into there. Now the height of my chocolate bar, if you find it a little bit difficult to do this, just grab a piece of cardstock or something and sit it over the top and push it up against your ruler just to see how high this is. So this is 1.5 centimeters high, so I'm going to take it to 2, just there's enough room in there. So in all of my height parts here, I can add in 2 centimeters. And then finally I need to have a look at the length of my chocolate bar. I'm going to use my grid paper to help me with this ever so slightly. So let's see. So it is 16.5 centimeters. So if we take the first line first of all, I want 10.7, 12.7 centimeters that way. And then for this one, I'm going to want this to be 20.5 centimeters. So I need to cut a piece of cardstock or designer series paper that is 12.7 by 20.5. So I'm going to grab back in my trimmer and my cardstock and paper and organize that. So this time around I have a piece of cardstock in garden green. I'm going to open up the arm on my trimmer again to make sure that I've got enough side here. And let's start with the smaller one. So I want 12.7. So just pulling that to the 12.7 mark on here, making sure it's butted up against the top and pulling my trimmer blade straight through. Spin this around and then I'm going to pull it to 20.5 and cut straight up there. And then I need to score this at 2 centimeters on every side. Now with this being such a small measurement, I would recommend this time that you use the ruler on this side of the blade. So instead of coming this way, do it this way, you've got then more stability for your cardstock. So I'm going to pull this to the 2 centimeter mark here, pop my guide into place, and then using my pale scoring blade, I'm just going to run that through and repeat this on all 4 sides. Now that my base is cut, I'm going to do the same with a piece of designer series paper for the top. So I have here this fun pattern from the Heartwarming Hugs designer series paper, and I'm going to cut this down in exactly the same way. So 20.5 centimeters long by 12.7 centimeters wide. And I need to score this at 2 centimeters on every single side. But I'm going to do this slightly under again, so I'm going to make it 1.9 centimeters on each side. So here is my lid and base for my second box. And I'm going to repeat the exact same process that I did on the previous one. So using my scissors, first of all I'm going to burnish. I'm going to burnish my score lines. So fold up each of your score lines and burnish those creases so you get a nice crisp edged box. And the same on your designer series paper as well. Now with designer series paper, because it is a lighter weight paper, you don't need to burnish quite as deeply. If you go too hard, you may actually find you end up cracking the paper, so just be a little bit more delicate with your paper. Okay, now we can take our scissors and cut each of our tabs. So just straight up that score line and add in a notch. Now, since these tabs are quite a bit smaller than the previous ones, I'm not going to cut them down this time. So now I have my base and lid scored and all of the tabs are cut and notched. I'm going to assemble the box again. So taking my Stampin' Seal Plus, again I'm just going to run a little bit of adhesive onto each tab. Stampin' Seal Plus, like I said, is the best thing to use for putting these boxes together. You can use liquid glue if you're a little bit unsure about getting your tabs to land in the right place first time. Liquid glue is a good option. It gives you a few seconds just to wiggle it around and moves it if it's not quite in the right place. But you do have to hold it a little bit longer because it's not an instant bond adhesive. You do have to hold your tabs in place until the glue has set up enough before you move on to the next tab. So just bear that in mind. And then tear and tape is also another option. It's another permanent adhesive and it's instant, so as soon as you stick your tabs together, it will bond straight away for you. You don't need to hold it in place or anything like that. So that is another great option for putting together 3D projects like this. So last two tabs here with my Stampin' Seal Plus. And then in exactly the same way, I'm literally just going to put my tabs together. So taking my cut corner to the scored corner, making sure they line up and pressing the tab into place and doing that on all four sides. And once you've finished putting them together, pop your gift inside and your lid should fit perfectly over the top. And there you have two finished gift boxes, perfect for any gift that you may want to be giving this festive season. You can make them to any size that you need. You can use any colour or design of designer series paper or cardstock. You could even use white cardstock and stamp a background image all over it, whatever you choose to do. And of course you can then decorate these, tie them up with ribbon, add a gift tag or a nice big topper onto the top of the box, and they would be perfect presents to give. So I hope you have enjoyed this video and it has given you some helpful inspiration for this festive season. If you have enjoyed the video, please do give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel so you'll be notified every time I post a new video. If you have any questions or comments about the boxes, the products that I've used, or anything to do with Stampin' Up, pop them into the comments box below and I'd be happy to help you out. All of the products that I have used today are available through my store with Stampin' Up, and there will be a link in the description box to that for you. And at the moment, right the way through until January the 4th, there is the year-end giant closeout sale going on. So lots of retiring products, including some of the ones that I've used today, are now available with a massive discount. So don't miss out, go and check that out if there's anything that you fancy grabbing from the August to December catalogue. Thank you again for joining me in my craft room, and I hope to see you again very soon. Bye bye.